You've trained yourself to care for everyone but you. You know, you might overgive, overwork, overexplain yourself, overpromise, and then constantly wonder why you're feeling anxious or resentful towards others, burnt out, or potentially even numbed out. And the real question is not why are you tired, but why do you keep betraying yourself just to keep everyone else comfortable? And a lot of people don't realize this. Self betrayal doesn't start out loud, as you'll hear from my own journey as we dive deeper. Typically, self betrayal starts small, and you might be saying yes to something when your body is screaming no, like a part of your body is flaring up, actively trying to communicate with you and let you know that this does not feel right. Or it could be shrinking your truth, it could be dimming your light, editing or censoring yourself to avoid judgment or criticism from others. It might be abandoning your own needs so you don't risk losing love from your romantic partner or your mum or dad or boss. And if you do it long enough, the betrayal actually stops feeling like betrayal. It actually starts feeling like your entire personality. And if you are anything like how I was, might be saying things like, well, you know, I'm easygoing, I can handle it, it's nothing, it's just who I am. And so this episode is really for the part of you that's tired of being the strong one, the stable one, the one who holds everyone's stress and baggage and challenges and trauma while never being held yourself. And so today we're really going to unpack, where does self-betrayal actually come from and how it's not a lack of discipline, how it showed up in my life through addiction and achievement and looking put together while silently crumbling and breaking down inside, and why people pleasing is actually a trauma response. It's not a personality trait, and run through the exact tools that I have used and I continue to use to stop abandoning myself, to stop betraying myself, and actually become someone I can trust and I can rely and depend on. And that's what I want for you. So, you know, if you're ready to stop leaking your power and outsourcing your authority and validation into every relationship, job, and expectation around you, then you're in the right place. This episode is absolutely for you. And I really want to remind you, in case you've forgotten, that you're not broken or lazy. If you're resonating with what I'm sharing with you, it's not a matter of being broken or lazy. It's simply a matter of conditioning, and you were really trained to abandon yourself. You know, you may think that you're tired from doing too much at work or doing too much activity, but what I've learned through my journey, more often than not, is you're tired because you're doing too much for everyone but yourself. And so the exhaustion that you're feeling isn't a lack of energy, it's lack of self-alignment. And I know that that can seem like quite an ethereal, very intangible word to try and understand. And it's definitely used very liberally. But the way that I would define alignment is being able to firstly set an intention with your mind to work towards something that feels true and feels exciting and you feel called to doing. So in alignment with your soul's purpose or your mission or your dharma. And then taking action with your body, with the doing part of your intelligent system that's in congruence with this intention, so that you're fully aligned across your values, your aspirations, your calling, your mission, your thinking, your self-talk, and your action. That's what I would define as self-alignment. And self-betrayal is really self-protection or self-preservation that has calcified, that has hardened, concretized into an identity. And Gabor Mate, one of the greatest physicians and authors and thinkers and experts on trauma of our time, said that the greatest act of self-abandonment is when a child learns to silence their own needs to stay loved. And that has been a big part of my journey. Maybe you can resonate with that as well, where from an early age, I grew up, you know, in a migrant household where there was still a lot of unprocessed trauma that had been inherited from grandparents and parents, and coming from a culture and a society that had been ravaged by communism and, just really, really difficult, confronting experiences that my parents had gone through. And in many ways had been conditioned themselves to perform for love as well. So naturally, as a susceptible toddler, an infant, I took that on. I inherited it, as we all do, as part of our conditioning. And I learned to perform for love, and I learned to achieve and to create a certain level of success that would match the expectations of my parents. And then I made my self-worth equate to how useful or how valuable I could demonstrate myself to be. And then that really took on a life of its own as I grew up into my teens and really struggled finding a sense of direction and purpose coming out of school, as I'm sure many of us do. It's completely natural, and man, we put so much pressure on ourselves. But that really was a difficult time for me because I didn't know how to cope with the separation that my parents had gone through and just the massive toll that it took on both of them. And so I dove headfirst into alcohol to cope. So already there was an early suppression of pain and an abandonment of my needs, which then became more exacerbated when I learned about my dad's attempt to end his life. And then that sent me into a sense of hyper responsibility to try and be, a crutch and a shoulder for him to cry on, and to completely shut down my emotions and my needs so that I could really, hold that space for him. And then while trying to hold this persona together of someone who was achieving things in the world and feeling a sense of self-worth as a result, I couldn't live with the pain and the shame and the guilt of being seen as this degenerate that had really let drugs and alcohol cripple him and send him down a very dark path. And I felt like the only way for me to really come out of that was to transmute it into something more productive and positive and uplifting, and really sort of process what I was going through with more achievement, because that's just the nature of learning how to perform for love. And I did that by still building something really meaningful, a company in the mental health space, and achieved many great things. And in some ways, on paper, might be seen as successful, but inside I was dying. I was really crumbling underneath the pressure of leading an organization and a team and a mission and a vision, and just feeling completely crushed by the unprocessed pain that I was still holding on to, from my upbringing. And so that coping strategy helped until it didn't help anymore, and led to the complete disintegration of that persona of chasing achievement at the expense of my own needs and at the expense of my own well-being. And so that dawned on me, if you're someone who perhaps can relate, and it doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol. I mean, maybe it's shopping, buying fancy things, or sex, gambling, porn, right? I mean, vices, just pick your poison, right? But, and, I've tried all of them. They're fun for a bit until they're not. But I realized at the time that I wasn't really addicted to substances. I was addicted to escaping myself. And I'd done it so often that it became a learned strategy. Self-betrayal is learned. And the good news is it can be unlearned as well. And so I really want to help break this down for you, as always, to try and really distill a lot of the concepts in the personal development and spiritual growth space that can sometimes seem really airy-fairy and difficult to understand and comprehend, but really make them as accessible as I can for you through different frameworks and methodologies, is to walk you through what the 4 core behaviors of self-betrayal look like from my perspective. Again, please sing out if you have a different perspective. Let's have a conversation. I think this is how we can actually grow and add more to the pool of consciousness and awareness and education around who we are and how we operate. But these are my 4 core behaviors. And let me know which one resonates with you. The first one is people pleasing. And typically how it shows up is I don't want to disappoint anyone. And that was my narrative, as I've just shared before, for so long. I did not want to disappoint my parents. If I disappointed them, I would get beaten senselessly. And I also would feel like I wasn't good enough because I wasn't contributing or providing some sort of value that could make us come together to celebrate as a family. And so what really happens is the nervous system is seeking safety. It's seeking safety in other people. And a really powerful tool that you can use, that I've used to interrupt this, is having a script or a standard or a system in place to enforce boundaries. And a good way to do that is somatically. So through the body, actually taking a moment to pause and really understand, what am I trying to gain from this? And how is it serving me? And what boundary do I need to put in place to actually protect my peace in this situation? Am I engaging with this person or this activity or this event or this opportunity because I really want to? Because it feels aligned, because it lights me up inside, because it excites me, or because I don't want to disappoint someone? Now, if you're feeling contracted, if you're feeling like your system shuts down and it's coming from this place of fear, of not wanting to disappoint anyone or let someone down, that tool that you've just established, those series of questions to establish those boundaries and somatically pausing, which could look like taking a deep breath and just resting in silence before taking action. So an effective way to kind of break that cycle. Now, the second behavior is over-functioning. Typically, it's the way I believe it shows up is that you're doing more than what's actually required. You might be rescuing, and I have certainly experienced this, in the workplace, going not above and beyond, but actually doing more than is actually necessary, so much so that it was actually creating more harm for myself than good. And what's happening here is, or why it's really happening, is because your worth is tied to being needed. Your worth is tied to being needed. I feel worthy when someone needs me. And if no one needs me, then I'm going to create a circumstance or situation for someone to need me, even if it means that I am abandoning myself, burning out, overfunctioning, overworking. And so an easy way to break it is the stop, ask, truth check-in. Stop, ask yourself, is this something that is actually serving me by going above and beyond? Or is it actually doing me more harm? And truth relates to coming back to center, coming back to what feels true and right and good in your body. And you can try this now, thinking about perhaps an opportunity that you're dealing with in business or in the workplace, and ask yourself, what would actually make me feel good around this? Would spending the next 10, 15 hours working on this make me feel good? And if it's a yes, then that's great. If it feels great in your body, if you're feeling inspired, if you're feeling energized, I'm not bashing sitting down and really immersing yourself in deep work. If it feels good for you, your system, your nervous system will actually communicate that to you. But if it feels contracted, then I would suggest that it's kind of going against the natural rhythm of your body and the natural system of your body. And I like to use my nervous system as a bit of a lie detector because it's a very intelligent piece of machinery, and it has these faculties that enable you, when you learn to work with it, to determine whether an opportunity for you is aligned or not. Simply by asking yourself, does this make me feel good or does it not? And if you're trapped in this cycle of self-betrayal, like I was for so many years, I didn't know about any of this. I didn't realize that I could have a conversation with my body and ask it questions and see what feels good or not. I just did it all. And then I did more. And then I did more until I couldn't do any more and I crumpled in a heap. Which brings me to the next behavior, numbing/coping. Again, it could be any one of those vices that I mentioned before: drugs, alcohol, shopping, gambling, sex, pornography. It could be mindless scrolling on social media, or workaholism, where your work is just dominating your entire life. And it's stopped being a source of joy and excitement and passion and fulfillment. And it's become a way for you to completely numb yourself out from the unexpressed, unacknowledged pain. And that's really why it's happening. It's an avoidance of unmet self needs. And an easy way to break that cycle is to take 90 seconds to name the emotion that you're experiencing. And I'm speaking to you about this from a place of continuous self-improvement. I mean, recently I experienced a pretty challenging situation at home where I was feeling quite unsafe, and I wanted to leave because it wasn't a safe environment for me. And I went to stay with a friend, and then I reached for ice cream, and I love ice cream. I mean, I love Ben and Jerry's half-baked is a go-to. And I checked in with myself at that moment, and I realized that I was using it as a way to escape. And I allowed myself that chance to escape. And I think it's important to acknowledge when that's happening. And the ice cream was absolutely a way to avoid the pain, and I enjoyed it. And I noticed what I had just done and realized that there was a feeling of discomfort and fear and anxiety that was in my system that wanted to be expressed. And then I used whatever tools I had at my disposal, including EFT tapping or emotional freedom technique, and NSDR, non-sleep deep rest, and breath work to calm myself down and restore safety and peace in my nervous system. And I'll go deeper into those tools and how they've helped me and helped the clients that I've worked with. But I share that with you to let you know that I'm human. We're all human. We all are allowed to enjoy and indulge. And so this practice is not about being a machine. This practice is about learning how to work with yourself and to give yourself what you need in the moment, and to ensure that whatever you're doing does not spiral into something that becomes a serious, destructive pattern of living and being. And the last behavior is self-silencing. Now, the way that looks is not expressing your truth. It means shrinking down in certain social interactions or in the workplace where maybe you have something that you believe is really important, relevant, valuable to contribute, but you don't do it. I mean, the social media space is a big one. This has been definitely one of the biggest demons I've learned, and I'm continuously learning how to slay, is how to get more comfortable with the notion of expressing what I believe in and what I stand by on social media, even if it means that it may not gel with or resonate with certain people. And so what's happening here is an abandonment or betrayal of self, of your truth, of what you know deep down to be true, to avoid rejection and to avoid criticism. And like with social media, like, what I'm doing each day, and, I encourage you to join me on the journey. It doesn't mean you have to talk about your addictions on a podcast or, on social media. But it can start with micro bravery steps and reps to condition yourself in a new direction. And it could be one honest sentence a day that you talk or that you utter or communicate to someone that you know to be true, that you know to be true for you at least, and something that you believe in, and you communicate it, even if it means that it might be met with criticism, even if it means it might be met with rejection. Just one sentence a day, and building your capacity to become fully self-expressed. And Don Miguel Ruiz, who's a fantastic author of The Four Agreements, said that when you don't love yourself, you always expect others to fill the void, and every time they don't, you feel hurt. So this is really an invitation to love yourself through the practices that I've just shared with you and anything else that feels true for you. Because when you get into that habit and practice, then you're able to stop betraying yourself and return to self-loyalty and self-mastery. And so I want to walk you through a little bit more of my methodology that I share with clients so that you can actually take this on the road with you and practice whenever this comes up for you, whenever you notice that you're slipping into one of those 4 behaviors of self-betrayal: the people-pleasing, the over-functioning, the numbing out, the self-silencing. And the first step starts with awareness, as always. And this is really kind of an introduction to shadow work, in a sense, which is really learning how to meet with and acknowledge and embrace the parts of yourself that you may keep hidden or suppressed or reject. And it's not easy, but it is powerful. And a great place to start with the awareness piece is to ask yourself in a journal, where do I betray myself the most? You know, maybe it is like not saying your truth. Maybe it's not communicating what you really stand by to promote yourself or your business or your profile in the workplace. And what this does is it's bringing your shadow into the light, and you start to become one with your inner witness, or the awareness behind your thoughts and behind your emotions, which is really powerful, because then you stop the pattern of misidentifying with these unproductive patterns of thinking and feeling and acting, and you start to be the awareness behind all of it. And once you've done that, then you can start the process of repairing the identity. This self-image work, which I really believe in and has been a massive game changer for my life, is changing the way that you see yourself, changing the way that you feel about yourself, changing the way that you talk to yourself. And this is your invitation to speak to yourself as someone that's actually worth protecting, because you absolutely are. Be your own best friend. Treat yourself in the same way that you treat the person that you love the most in the entire world. How would you show up for them? How would you speak to them? How would you feel about them? And a great way to do that is actually to write out exactly how you want to feel about yourself. Write out exactly how you want to talk to yourself, especially when times get tough, especially when you notice yourself slipping into self-betrayal. And then read it and listen to it and speak it out aloud, and then start taking actions in alignment with that, which might mean writing down, I want to see myself as someone who can confidently go into an event or an opportunity and limit myself to 1 drink, or talk to 5 people, or leave at 8 p.m. instead of 12 a.m. Whatever it is, this is just an example, right? I want to see myself as this person. And then start taking those micro bravery steps and reps to start showing and proving to yourself and to your subconscious mind that you are someone worth trusting, that you truly are your own best friend. Now, the third piece is nervous system safety, which we touched on briefly. And this is really powerful because it also signals safety to your body before you start playing out a pattern of self-sabotage, which could be something like breath work, like non-sleep deep rest, which I highly encourage you to look into, which has been such a massive, positively influential tool to rebuild safety and calm and peace in my body. Because then what you're doing is you're regulating yourself, you're building safety first, and then you have the clarity and the patience and the pause to play out a new strategy, to run a new play instead of running the same old play of self-sabotage. The fourth piece, and this is something that's come to me recently, is ethical selfishness, TM. And it's selfishness not in the sense that you think that you're better than everyone else and that you're putting people down and you're arrogant and only put your needs first and never consider the feelings or the needs of others. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying ethical selfishness in that I love you and I choose me first. So it's love that includes you. It's love that expresses itself really meaningfully when you're with a person without sacrificing your needs, without sacrificing or breaking the promises that you make to yourself. That way you stop being emotionally overdraft. That way you stop being completely zapped and tapped out. That way you can still give love and support and care for the people around you, but not if it actually crosses a boundary that you've established, not if it means that you are sacrificing a part of yourself. Fifth piece is self-loyal action. Now, this is discipline as self-respect. I really believe discipline is the highest form of self-respect and self-love, which really means doing something for you every single day, proving to yourself and demonstrating to yourself that you matter and that you do come first. And it could be something as simple as going for a walk first thing in the morning to get some sunlight into your eyes. It could be something as straightforward as setting some time aside to complete a task and actually honoring that. Or it might be going into a meeting or an interaction and noticing that there's a misalignment between you and the client, or you and the interviewer, or whoever is sitting across from you, and actually honoring that and saying, okay, well, this doesn't feel like the right fit for me. I don't think I can add value. I don't think I can support you. And so I'm going to end it here. Right? And the self-abandonment completely ends when self-trust begins. When you have built this strong foundation of trust within yourself, where you say something, you think something, and you act something, all in complete alignment. Now, the last piece is forgiveness and integration. Stop shaming the past version of you. You're doing the best that you have been doing with the tools that you have and with the level of awareness and consciousness that you have. And this is not just a message to you, this is a message to the younger version of me as well. You survived the only way you knew how. And so it's an opportunity to love yourself. I love you. And I thank you. And I'm choosing differently now. I'm choosing a new pattern of thinking. I'm choosing a new pattern of communication. I'm choosing new emotions. I'm choosing new patterns of behavior. And so I want to end here. That's all I have for you today, folks. And so I want to leave you with this. The pattern of self-betrayal and self-abandonment that you may have been playing out in your business, in your relationships, in your workplace, with your health and well-being is something that can be unlearned. And it's simply a reflection of your past conditioning, which means that you can change it anytime you want, that you can change it simply by tuning into these words and listening to me. You've started the process of awareness. I know there's a reason that you clicked on this video or this episode in the first place, and it means that you're ready. It means that you're ready to go deeper into your own personal development and self-expression and self-loyalty and self-mastery. So I want to honor you for that, because you're doing the work and you're showing up, and I just have so much respect for you. So I really appreciate you for being here. If any of it resonated with you, please let me know. Please drop me a rating or review in the comments section. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what stood out to you. If you didn't agree with something, please let me know as well. Again, let's add to the pool of education and awareness and consciousness that is available to us, so we can grow together. And yeah, I'll see you in the next episode. And before then, please take a moment to perhaps re-listen to the episode or take notes so that you can actually integrate the material. Listening to podcasts, watching videos, attending events, reading books, these are all powerful tools to grow our awareness, but it's the embodiment piece that actually really grounds it in your being and really starts to cement a new way of living and acting. Take the time to go through whatever resonated with you, journal on it. And yeah, just remember that the real betrayal was never that others didn't choose you. It's that somewhere along the way that you stopped choosing you. And today, that stops for good. So I love you lots. I'll see you in the next episode.